Everyone wants to dunk, but not everyone knows how to train for it. For the last year, I've been sporadically posting videos of me getting closer and closer to getting a dunk at 5'10". This passion project has led me to research how to train to finally get my first dunk. So now it's time to share that with you, free of charge. I spend lots of time on these and I'm not getting paid yet, so if you liked it, drop a comment and subscribe. Now let's break down what's actually going to get you flying. You hear it all the time. No days off. But in dunk training, that's a fast track to injury and an impenetrable plateau. Sometimes what you really need is a day off so you can supercompensate and actually receive the rewards from your hard training the day before. Your nervous system drives your jump, and it can't fire well if you're always tired. Fatigue also hides your true potential. You might be explosive, but if you're overtrained, you'll feel flat. Think of your vertical like a battery. If you don't recharge it, you'll never truly hit your peak. And if you never train with a full battery, how do you expect to increase your battery output? Real progress comes from effort and recovery. So take a rest day here and there and train smart. Low rim dunking is easily one of the best tools for jumpers, and something that as I have done more and more of it, I have finally closed in on that elusive dunk. Lowering the rim lets you dunk with intent and with power. You can actually practice dunking and really start to build that movement pattern into your body, with footwork, extension, and approach angles all being things that you need to be built with reps. You can build them with full confidence when you actually go for the real thing. If you've ever heard of THP or John Evans, it's something that him and Isaiah Rivera originally did to build their vertical and confidence. Now Isaiah is one of the best dunkers in the entire world and has the highest approach for of all time. It's going to be our very first S tier because low rim dunking builds rhythm, explosiveness, and jump-specific coordination, so you can dunk once you have the necessary vertical capability. Now let's switch all the way to the opposite side with high rim grabbing. The law of progressive overload tells us that we need to increase the demands and output of our body if we want to see serious gains. And high rim grabbing does just that. During your jumping sessions, add in a few high rim grabs of 10-1, 10-2, or even 10-3. If you're able to increase your grabs over time, it should make dunking a piece of cake. Currently, I just did this exact same thing and I managed to get up to 10-4 for my last grab. It's objective. You either hit it or you don't, so it keeps you honest as well. You can't cheat a jump test like you can cheat a vertical mat. It's a pure way to track your jumping. Even though it's the exact opposite of the low rim grabbing which we put in S tier, it's going to find its way nicely into the prestigious A tier itself. Overloaded eccentrics might be the first of the exercises that I actually really have to explain. These are slow, heavy, lowering eccentrics, especially with squats at around 110 or higher % of your max. You lower it under control and you'll have a spotter help you return the bar up after letting it rest on the catches or safety catches. They strengthen your tendons and muscles in the part of the lift that the most people ignore. More importantly, they also help protect your knees and ankles from injury when you land hard. We don't normally truly train the eccentric portion because we only ever squat whatever we can lift back up. But if we train with overloaded eccentrics, we can actually get this stimulus. The only downsides are the tremendous load on your body as well as the risk of injury if form isn't proper, and honestly it's a big ask to find a spotter that's willing to provide the necessary help. Next up we got low intensity plyos, stuff like pogo jumps, line hops, ankle bounces. These are all low intensity plyos. They build rhythm, timing, and ankle stiffness, which matters, but they won't do a whole lot for increasing your vertical enough to dunk. The good part about them, though, is the minor improvements they do bring come at basically no cost because they live up to their name as low intensity. They're perfect for building your ankle tendons or targeting your calves and Achilles, but don't expect them to skyrocket your vert alone. Think of them as like the polish to your sports car, and the things in the A and S tier are going to be the engine, so we're going to put them in the C. This one's tricky. Basketball or any other similar jumping sport help your coordination, timing, and general athleticism for jumping. But unless you're max effort jumping over and over, it's not going to give you true vertical training. Game speed jumps are inconsistent and rarely with enough intensity to truly raise your ceiling. Going back to the progressive overload principle, we need to be adapting. We need to be pushing our body's output if we truly want to see adaptation. And realistically, in a basketball practice or game, you're only getting 3 or 4 max intensity jumps, and you won't ever be fully rested for them either. So if we're really focusing on max effort, it's going to be a good idea to train it after a full day off, and that means from basketball too. Basketball will build your movement patterning though, and your confidence going up in the air and controlling your body will be increased. However, because it has a high cost of damaging recovery and a very little jumping benefit, it's going to be C tier for specifically dunking. It keeps you sharp, but it's not going to raise your ceiling. Cleans and snatches train your whole body to explode upward. They teach timing, force transfer, and triple extension at the ankle, knee, and hip, the 3 joints that are also used in jumping. If you look at Olympic lifters, they're jumping way higher than they should be for how strong and big some of them are. Cleans, whether hang or power, take technique, but if you have a knowledgeable coach or enjoy learning from YouTube, they can be a great benefit. THP, who I referenced earlier, are big proponents of the clean, and as I said, they produce some of the top dunkers in the world. But if you got the movement down, these will build a serious engine for vertical power, so they're going to go in the A tier. Let's be real, ladder drills are more for warm-ups and footwork, and they're great at that, but not for vertical. I thought this was obvious, but some people still do these to improve at their jumping. I'm not knocking it overall because I love ladder drills for warm-ups, but let's not kid ourselves here. The Icky Shuffle isn't going to make you dunk, so they're headed to F tier. Back to the other end of the spectrum with load management. So many athletes try to cheat the system and work day in, day out by doing cold baths, sauna, and foam rolling and calling it good. But really what you need to do is plan out your training so that you can train as fresh as you can, as often as you can, and in that order. Whether it's in the weight room or on the track hitting PRs, it's only going to happen if you take care of your body. Without hitting PRs and growing over time, all the work you're doing is useless. Load management means controlling your training stress so you don't burn out or plateau. High-intensity work like jumps and heavy lifting beat up your nervous system. If you don't recover right, you're just building yourself a hole. Smart athletes plan deloads, rest days, and adjust based on how they feel. That's how you stack week after week of quality work and how you actually get better. Straight to S tier here. Contrary to popular belief, jumping is a unilateral exercise. And even when you're a 2-foot jumper, it's still a unilateral exercise. The legs contact the ground at different times and thus produce force independent of one another. So training each leg by itself is huge. Split squats, step-ups, pistol squats, and single-leg RDLs are all good examples of unilateral training that builds stability, fixes asymmetries, and strengthens the quads as well as the posterior chain. Going to go to the A tier here. Single-leg work is very important. Sprinting is explosive. I didn't rank the options inside of their own tier, but if I did, sprints would be at the top because I went back and forth between 2 tiers of them so much. It's not a perfect vertical builder because it's general rather than being specific to jumping, but it boosts overall athleticism so much that it has to be at least fairly high. Think of it like dunking's cousin. The faster you are, the more potential force you can generate, and thus the higher you can jump and dunk. If you set a goal 6 months out of dunking, the first few months should have a ton of sprinting to increase your general athleticism and force production. As you get closer to your dunk, you can add some more specific training. Sprints are amazing, and me putting them in B tier, even for dunking, is evident of that. Next up, we have active recovery. Recovery is not just about sitting there lifeless and resting. There's also a lot of ways that you can speed up to recovery. I alluded to it before, but a lot of athletes use things like foam rolling, light activity, and hot and cold therapy to try to get an advantage. And this is great, but in reality, sleep, food, and load management are what you really need to recover, and everything else is going to yield much smaller returns. It's going to go in C tier because it's going to marginally help your recovery at no cost. So if you have extra time, then definitely add these in. But don't fall into the trap that a cold tub can substitute for your lack of sleep. You need enough mobility to hit the right positions in jumping, through your hips, knees, ankles, and even your shoulders. But don't overdo it. Static stretching before a workout isn't going to help you dunk and will lead to less power and actually more injuries. Mobility is more about strength through a range of motion. This means that the easiest way to incorporate mobility into your routine is in the dynamic warm-up, as well as just doing all of your exercises through a good range of motion, such as squatting deep. Mobility should be done, but never as a substitute for real training. It's another low-cost way to improve, but only if you don't have enough of it already. So we're going to put it in C tier. Now we've got bilateral strength training. And this is what you think of when I say leg exercises, probably. These are classic barbell lifts like squats, deadlifts, and trap bar. They all build raw force. Jumping is all about force, so that means that lifting hard and often is a must for getting that first dunk. You need horsepower in order to lift off, and these are your main engine builders. If you're not strong relative to your own body weight, you're not going to be that explosive. It's just that simple. Just make sure that the strength you build is complemented by a good plyometric and speed program to ensure that you have the athleticism to go along with your power. Don't get stuck only lifting slowly. Do it fast as well. I'm going to go with the A tier here. Now this one's going to be brutal for bounce. Distance running trains your body to be efficient, but slow, and the opposite of explosive. It wears down your joints, eats into your recovery, and shifts your nervous system and muscle fiber types away from max effort output. You need to do whatever the necessary conditioning is for your sport, of course, but that amount of volume is probably less than you think. Think of your body's battery, and remember that you want to be as charged as you can for dunking. Long distance running is great for your health, but for dunking, it's going an F. Overcoming isometrics are something that I have not used for a very long time. However, even though they are a bit advanced, I have found them greatly impactful when I have started it. This is another THP or John Evans exercise, just like the overloaded eccentrics and also Olympic lifts. The reason that these are better than the eccentrics is because the injury risk and the load on the body is actually lower. In overcoming isometric, you push as hard as you can against an immovable object for 3 to 6 seconds. An example here is putting on the safety catches a barbell with about 600 pounds that you can't even lift up. It fires up your nervous system and builds max strength in a very specific position, like a quarter squat depth or knee drive angle. It's one of the only ways to achieve a super maximal contraction or contraction at a higher force than your actual squat max. There's no injury risk either because you aren't actually going to be able to move the weight. Overall, this is great for force production without the fatigue of full lifts, and so for now it's going to go in A tier, but cautiously. Next is force absorption. Your body needs to absorb a lot of force as you jump. It needs to do it rapidly in the case of a 1-foot jump, and it needs to absorb more force over a longer time for 2-foot jumping. Force absorption drills like depth drops teach you how to control and absorb that load. They help build quality tendons and structural adaptations to provide large jumps in performance. This is going to be your armor to protect you from getting injured, as well as the training that will help your body learn. Don't skip it, but it's going to be overall in the middle, in the B tier, in terms of overall effectiveness. So there it is, all the methods ranked by what actually helps you fly. If you want to dunk, don't fall for the hype. Skip the fluff, focus on the power, intent, and recovery. Tools like low rim dunking, smart strength training, and proper load management will take you way farther than ladder drills and foam rolling ever will. Train smart and train hard, and I promise that rim's going to start feeling a lot lower than before.